Hello everybody, Dev here of the Rogue Deck Chronicles, and today I have an interesting deck that I want to showcase. It is a hand group hug deck. For those who don't know, group hug is a term that I picked up from when I play Magic, and what it is we want to give our opponent resources. We want everyone to enjoy the resources. So we do that with Chandelure. Chandelure is a Stage 2 Fire-type Pokemon, 130 HP, that has the Alluring Light ability. Once during your turn, you may have each player draw a card. That's where the group hug aspect of this deck comes from. So, that's important because its attack of Mind Ruler for a single fire energy is 30 times, and it's 30 times for each card in your opponent's hand. So we want our opponent to have large hand sizes. And as you're going to see in one of the matches today, that's going to hurt us. But it's what we do, so there's nothing else we can do. So we are going to combine this 4/3/4 line of Chandelure with a 2/1 line of the Mega Froslass EX that has the Resentful Refrain attack 50 times, and it's 50 times for each card in our opponent's hand. So we have two different Pokemon attackers here that really want to have our opponent have a large enough hand to do significant damage. And then we're also going to have a 1/1 line here of the Mega Starmie with the Jetting Blow, 120 to the active, 50 to the bench. This is the best lead we can have because it can really start putting some early game pressure as we set up our Chandelures and set up the board state for a Chandelure or Froslass finish. So those are the attacking Pokemon. We run one Shaymin and one Psyduck here just for our text here. The Psyduck obviously is for the Dusclops. The Shaymin is for opposing Starmies or any other attack that does damage to the bench. And then we do run one Fezandipiti because we do have a single prize archetype here. We can utilize the Fezandipiti 2 or 3 times in a game. In terms of the supporter line looks a little funky, but it makes sense. So we're running 3 Lillie, 4 Petrel, which this little package here is becoming more and more common, where you're having 7 to 8 combination Lillie Petrel for draw and search. We run 1 Hilda because we do want to get energy and evolutions into play. We run 2 Dawns to get, again, evolutionary pieces into play. 3 Bosses because with our hand size attacking, we definitely want to try to pull what we want off the bench into the active to KO what we need. And then 1 Lana to recover, and then 1 Wally's Compassion to help heal off any damage onto the Froslass or Starmie if they don't OHKO our Megas to help make them last just a little bit longer. In terms of Pokemon search, we run 3 Buddy-Buddy Poffin, 3 Poké Pad, and then 1 Ultra Ball. We have a lot of natural draw with the Chandelure, but we have to get to the Chandelure first. So the Buddy-Buddy Poffin allows us to grab the Litwick and all the babies, really, all the basic forms of our attackers. And then the Poké Pad allows us to search for the Chandelure pieces. The Hyper Aroma, which is our ace-spec of choice, will allow us to grab all our stage 1s in a single swoop. And because both of our Megas are stage 1s, that's how we can really utilize the search for the Megas. And then in a pinch, we're going to have a large hand size naturally. We can discard cards we don't need in the matchup to grab whatever we're missing. Because we are a stage 2 deck, we are going to run 3 Rare Candy to help accelerate the jump from Litwick to Chandelure as quick as possible. And then recovery, we run 3 Stretcher. It's a fairly common card you're seeing now in terms of 2 to 3 of in almost every single deck. And then energy wise, we're 4 fire, 3 water. It isn't a big energy count, but all our attackers are single energy, so we don't really need high energy. So with this deck, it's interesting, right? We want to have our opponent have a large hand size. But I think the other piece that is underutilized, underappreciated with this combination here are the typings. So we are fire and water attacking deck. So the Chandelure hits all the grass archetypes for weakness, hits all the metal, so all those Metagross decks for weakness. We have the water side hit all those fire decks for weakness. We're talking about the Mega Charizards, we're talking about the Delphox decks. So we do give ourselves good type coverage going into the meta and going into the ladder. Now, the one piece we really can't counter too hard here is Dragon Ball. That's the unfortunate part of this deck, is that Dragon Ball really does just counter us, because if they get a Litwick, they're 60 HP, so they can do damage to a Mega, knock out a Litwick, or they can just knock out a Chandelure, knock out Litwick, so that's a problem per se. And then obviously Mega Alakazam loves us. We're group hug, and they're going to love the fact that we're going to try to give them cards, because we kind of have to. A secondary win condition to this deck is Mill. So if your opponent gets too aggressive and you realize that their deck size is getting too small, and you have the turns to draw 3 a turn with Alluring Light, maybe 4, you could deck out your opponent and get a win comp that way if you're not going to outrace them for the prizes. So very fun, very interesting deck. Today I have 2 different matches that really showcase the strengths and a potential weakness to this deck as well. So I hope you guys enjoy the matchups. But before we jump into those matchups, just do me a favor and just like the video, and then double check if you subscribe to the channel. That's all. It takes 5 seconds before you jump into the matches. That way you can enjoy the matchups on the ladder. And then once you're done that, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Alright, so we're going first. We're actually not in a bad position here. We have a Litwick, we have a Rare Candy, and we have a Poké Pad. So we really just need to get an energy. And it looks like we're facing against a Mega Charizard deck. This is going to be kind of fun. We do have the water attackers, so we can set up a Froslass, or even set up a Mega Starmie. That'd be fun. So we'll see how many mulligans we get. Just a 1, which is fine. Second Rare Candy doesn't help. But got the second Litwick off the top deck. That's great to see. We'll have a Petrel from next turn. So I'm just going to end turn, just by basically just putting down Litwick and passing. So we'll need to get an energy. We have the Chandelure in hand. But with the Petrel, I think we can find that energy very easily. So they're grabbing a Dawn for their next turn. Okay. So if we can get our energy, we can pop off, or not really pop off, but put some nice pressure on the energy, or the Charmander they put energy on. Okay, so let's grab a Chandelure. Let's put it in the active. I think we really need to start putting some pressure on here. Let's go see 8 fresh cards. Well. Got a Litwick this turn. Energy. Let's draw a card. Petrel next turn. Hyper Aroma kind of helps, kind of doesn't. We just need those basics. Let's just throw Battle Cage on. And let's do the 150. Take the prize. Another boss. Oh. So like having the Hyper Aroma is great, but you need to have the babies. And that's where, like when I was kind of going through the list, originally this Hyper Aroma was a Super Scoopa for a more bulkier variant. But I was looking at, do I want the trolley, do I want the Hyper Aroma? And during my testing with the deck, I was not having an issue getting basics into play, but now it looks like this match I am a little bit. So it's like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Alright. So, we have two bosses. Depending on what they do with this Charmander this turn, really tempted to boss up that Charmander and really come behind from the getting the Charizard in play kind of piece. But if they're going to Night Stretcher that one of those Charmander we just knocked out back, it doesn't really matter. But we'll see. Yeah. So they're going to get a Charizard next turn. But I'm definitely going to knock out this turn. So right now we're doing 120. Okay, so... Oh, let's Petrel. I want to Petrel, Buddy-Buddy. We're gonna get our buddies. Froslass is prized, so let's grab a Staryu and a Litwick. Let's draw a card. Okay. Oh, we Petroled instead of bossed. I'm an idiot. That's on me. That's fine. Honestly, I kind of needed the setup anyway. We got another Chandelure, so we'll have that. We can Hyper Aroma. So I guess my question really is since they promoted the Meowth and not the Charmeleon, what's their play? What are they looking? I know they have a Mega Charizard Y in hand. They just grabbed an X. They're going to put a whole bunch of energy into play this turn. That's why the Froslass is actually somewhat important, because we could easily have one-shot this Charizard with a Froslass. But with the Froslass prized, didn't really set any of that up. So let's see. If I were them, I would... Let's see how slow we're doing this. Just one energy with the turbo? That makes no sense. Something's not happening right. There we go. Okay. Yep. Uh-huh. Yes. So for 360 on the Chandelure, we need them to have 12 cards in hand. They do not have that. So we kind of have to be given a chance here. Okay. We're just going to thin the deck out a little bit. We're going to grab the Starmie. There's the water energy. Okay, there's multiple water energies. We are going to retreat into the Starmie this turn. And I am going to start poking into this Charizard. And we'll set up damage on the other Charizard too. So if they do the, was it the 280 onto either one of the Chandelures, that's a win for us. Because then we can just Night Stretcher that whatever Chandelure and then just get a second one. If I were them, I would try to get this to be an X as quick as possible because I know they have an X in hand. So they'll be chasing for that rare candy potentially. But, man, did our opponent just walk away after we just did that? Yeah, they did. They definitely just did that on us. So, let's just see if we can get another Chandelure, take the 4 prizes, and move on. A little upset that what happens on the ladder sometimes. So, just for sake and kind of showing what we could do. But the Starmie helps us kind of stabilize board states like that. So we're going to take 4 prizes from this and take the game. Even with our misplay, we kind of did put everything we needed. And we got the win. So let's jump into another match to see how we do. Alright, we're going first again. We have the Snorunt. I'm going to hold on to the Psyduck just to see who we're facing off against. Because Psyduck's only really good against the ghosts. And seeing a Dunsparce does not help me understand whether or not a ghost is going to be played. Alright, so... Alright, we have Froslass in deck. Fantastic. And we have Mega Starmie in deck. So... what's our board looking like? I'm going to go double Litwick in this case. Because we can get a rare candy next turn, depending on what we get off the top deck. And I am just going to end turn. We'll keep that water in hand. And kind of see what we can get. But I think ideally next turn Froslass should be our... Oh, this is an Alakazam build. Okay, so we don't have to worry about our opponent having a large hand size. So, trying to get Mega Starmie is something we should focus on, because then that helps us knock out these Abras. And try to put early pressure. So, we'll see what we can get away with here. Because I think with Petrel... I think with the Petrel, we try to get the Hyper Aroma out. And just kind of go a little slower on the Chandelure. We have 2. We can just grab Lampent, Chandelure, and maybe a Mega Starmie and try to get a Staryu out of the deck. And really trying to put some pressure that way. Yeah, because our opponent has 2 Abras out right now. And we put a Battle Cage, which is fine. We're not moving damage counters. It also means the Psyduck is not going to be used this turn, or this match. So... I think what we're going to do, yeah, we're going to Petrel. We're going to Hyper Aroma. Grab with the Hyper Aroma a Lampent. Basically, we're going to grab one of everything. And I'm going to start putting on some early pressure here with this Froslass. And try to take some prizes now. And see if I can take a second prize next turn. Another Litwick, which is okay. But next turn, we'll be able to double dig with Chandelure to try to get a Staryu into play. And kind of see what else happens here. Another thing that we could very well try to do against our opponent is try to go through their deck for them. We know that Alakazam deck loves going through and having a very large hand size. So if we just make them draw 3 extra cards a turn, we can start kind of milling through their deck and making deck out a potential option on them, which is very much a possibility. We'll see how aggressive our opponent goes this turn though. Because if they get into like the low teens, or we're talking like 15 or less, we can start just this turn we're gonna make them draw 2 cards. That's fine. So if we can just deck them out potentially, that's a win con. Because what they'll have to do now is reload this bench. Because if we get a boss out of any of this, I'm gonna try to target down that Kadabra. Because it doesn't look like they're playing with the Rare Candy build. At least not that I've seen. But this is where Starmie really can put good pressure. But we just don't have it. Okay. Like, if we had Starmie, knockout, that's 2 prizes right there, right? And it slows them down a little bit. But we're just going to take the 1 prize this turn, which is fine. We might have to turn into a single prize attacker here. Because they're going to take 3. We have no way to hand disrupt because we want our opponent to have large hand size. Like, part of it is we do focus on this deck win con here. So, and this is a really fun deck matchup because they want to have a large hand size. We want to give our opponent cards. This is definitely a group hug matchup for sure for our opponent. They're going to love that. Alright, they're just going to chip, which makes it where we don't need as many cards in hand, but it is what it is. Alright, we got the Dawn. So we're going to Dawn. And we are going to grab Staryu, Lampent, Chandelure. Alright. Because I'm kind of digging for stuff. Really it is I need an energy. I need to do an energy attachment this turn. Hilda gets it to us next turn, which is fine enough, I guess. So, my computer is really struggling. Alright, there's a Poké Pad. We have everything we need in hand. So, we'll Mega Starmie. Maybe not. I don't know. Do we Mega Starmie? If they keep an Abra on board, I think we might. Not with an Alakazam as the active, though. But here's where if we get a third Chandelure, we can really start melting their deck a little bit. Rare Candy Chandelure wouldn't be a bad play, because they're definitely getting there. I don't know if I want to give them a second Mega to melt. That's the problem. I think we just go single prize at this point. The Froslass got us 2 prizes early, which is important, I believe. But now we really just need to try to make them go through their deck while going through 3 Chandelure. Pardon me. Go through 3 Chandelure, maybe even a 4th line of Chandelure here. And just do that instead. Why did they fill their bench with non-Dunsparce? That's weird. At least it's weird to me, because that would made little sense. Alright, let's see what we can get here. Okay. Lana's aid might help us. Just have that water energy in this card. Let's Petrel. Energy search. Yeah, we have the energy in the deck. We only have 2 energy in the deck, but that's fine. So now we have the energy search. And we have a Hilda. So. Alright, we didn't get the rare candy. Because we decided to go for the energy here instead. So. We're just gonna Mind Ruler here. And now we kind of have to play the... Can we melt their deck quicker than they melt our Pokemon? So we have the Lana, which will get us the Chandelure line next turn. Let's just be honest, that Chandelure is going to die. Yep. I think they've seen the fact that they don't need to melt through their deck, so that we're going to have to do it for them. Especially without the Dunsparce not in the play, they kind of stopped doing that. So we're going to have to go through their attackers, which I think, with the way they're setting up their board, we can do that. Okay, they put Sacred Ash, which puts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pokemon back in the deck, which is 2 full evolution lines there. Yep. Buddy-Buddy and Aber back into play, yep. Okay, so we're gonna have to do a very similar play where we're kind of forcing our opponent to go through attackers here. They just have to knock out these 2, but we have to knock out 3. You know what? I'm gonna go with this risk of... I say risk, really it's not really a risk, because we have the rare candies in the deck. Okay. They didn't get it this turn, but we have it next turn. Yeah, I just don't see how we can win this. I think our opponent identified the fact that we would like to mill them a little bit, and they stopped at the right time. And they don't have any 2 prizers that we could just cherry pick. So best case scenario for us, they don't evolve, and we can get a 2 prize. But yeah, that with Starmie only doing the 120 and them having 140. Well, I say that if we can get a boss, we can just... No damage done to your bench Pokemon. Alright, never mind. With this Shaymin, we really kind of lose out on that. But we haven't really pulled a boss anyway, so... The Shaymin protects the Abras. So that doesn't matter. So yeah, it's... We'll see what we can pull off. I think we just... The Froslass did what it needed. We needed that early game pressure. And our opponent kind of responded very well with that. So, we'll see. You never know what happens here. Okay. We'll just Petrel. Why not? Or the Rare Candy. But our opponent played that very smart. They identified that we would want to give them and try to melt their deck a little bit. And we just lost a race by 1 turn because of the 3 prizes for the Froslass. Which is unfortunate, but it is just part of this matchup. This matchup really is how much you rely on the right Mega. And the fact that we went Froslass and not Starmie, we lost out on a 2 prize turn when we really should have. So we'll let our opponent take the prize. Take the win. But it's fun. This is a fun matchup of decks that want to have... We want them to have a large hand size. They want to have a large hand size. Who races to the finish line, and we are just 1 turn behind. So it is what it is with this, but it was a fun match. We saw 2 matches today with this deck that showcased what it can do. Alakazam is definitely a popular archetype, so this is something that maybe when you create your list, you do something that is more focused on disrupting your opponent's hand size, even though you want them to have a large hand size. And trying to figure out a way, maybe... I think in this case, if we would have had the Starmie instead of Froslass as that Mega KO they did, we would at least would have had a turn or 2 where we would have taken advantage of a 2 prize turn. But that is really just... Alakazam's a hard matchup because you don't want to give your opponent a small hand size in this deck. So Alakazam wants that, and you're kind of feeding into that. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for making this far into the video. This one's a relatively shorter one than normal. It's just... This is just what you get with this archetype. We showed off what the deck can do. And you just have to kind of see if you find the right matchups. Like we said in the intro, the combination of water and fire is a really good combo because it hits so many Pokemon for weakness. Hits the grass decks for weakness, hits the metal decks for weakness, hits the fire decks for weakness. So you can utilize that so you don't have to go as aggressive on the strategy. But then you run into situations like this match where Alakazam just feasts on it and there's nothing we can do about it. With that being said, guys, thank you very much. For us to create another deck, because I'm just in the lab just pounding out ideas. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you guys enjoy the future ideas we do for the channel, and keep on the lookout for a set review for Pitch Black coming up in the near future. That being said, guys, have fun, and as always, have fun playing those sneaky decks.